Welcome to all of our YouTube viewers. This is Stu Jones with the Florida Powerboat Club, and pleased to be bringing you continuing coverage of our epic Key West Poker Run 2019, which set an all-time record for our 27-year history with 269 registered teams. And it took place over a 7-day period, so it was a festival that celebrated the performance boating lifestyle here in Florida. So before we get started, let's thank our sponsors. These YouTube episodes are brought to you by Mercury Racing Wide Open and by offleaseonly.com, the nation's used car destination. In addition to our 2020 series sponsors pictured here, we'd like to recognize all of these Key West 2019 feature sponsors as seen here on our official event masthead. This is the artwork for our official souvenir t-shirts, posters, and banners. These sponsoring partners play a vital role, and it's through their support that Florida Powerboat Club can produce this signature Key West Poker Run event. So we are now continuing with episode 3, and when we left off in our last episode, we were joining the Wednesday group who had just picked up a poker card at Grove Harbor Marina, and we picked up about 25 more powerboats, bringing today's total for the Wednesday group to the unofficial number somewhere between 75 and 80 teams. And this shot was featured in our last episode. We weren't quite sure who that was in the blue and white MTI 48, and it turns out after a little research it was Johnny O'Laughlin from New York, one of the last times he used this boat before selling it because he's got a new one on order. So thanks to Johnny O for putting on a show here, riding alongside Derek Walkup in his 52 MTI. And of course, Johnny has been in the club for over 20 years, and I can't even count how many beautiful powerboats he's had in that amount of time. So moving on down the bay, we're going to pick up the group now further south in Biscayne Bay. Everyone is up at speed and on the throttles, enjoying the perfect conditions of Biscayne Bay here on this beautiful November day. And I mentioned in our last show, there's a lot of skaters on this run, so say hi to Chip Miller, his lady Deb, on board with this 40 skater that they brought down all the way from Michigan to take part in this week's run. And let's welcome once again Fred and Judy Revis from South Carolina and Florida with this 48-foot MTI. We call it Team MTI. On the back of the boat it actually says Team Blue Bayou, and somewhere out there on the course, I'm not exactly sure where, is his other MTI, a 42 center console with quad Mercury Racing 400s, and that's driven by his friend Sean. We hope to catch up with that boat somewhere during this show. And here's Chris Miller in his 30-foot Spectre. It's an inboard-outboard boat, not an outboard like we see a lot of these. And that's because about 20 years ago when they built this Spectre, you could go either way. And getting a stern-drive cat versus an outboard cat was about 50-50. Well, I wanted you guys to hear those V10s because it certainly does have a unique sound, and when we get good audio from the helicopter, well, we like to share it with you guys. We get all those comments saying we want to hear the boats. Well, there you have it, guys. Jim and Lynn Archambault keeping it real today in their 43-foot outer limits. Die-hard poker runners that support us on many events throughout the years, and good to have them back here heading down to Key West. And one more time here with Chip Miller and his lady Deb on board in Team Let Her Rip, one of 12 skaters that are registered here just for this Wednesday run down to the Keys. And we're going to try to catch up with Marty Krajdiak from Ontario. He's in Team Speed Racer, 40-foot MTI, and he is in Mach 5, and we are not going to catch him. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, we can't do these events without all of our sponsors. I want to thank MTI. This is their factory entry. Taylor Sism in the boat with Milton Calafell, who manages a lot of the logistics for Team MTI, operating out of the Haulover Marine Center in North Miami. This was a record attendance for MTI, which won them second place in the Manufacturers' Cup standings. And we've got all the bases covered with this skater lineup today as we catch up with John Azulay from Texas. We've got 50-foot models, 46-foot models, and of course John now in his 44, the only 44 skater on today's run, powered by Mercury Racing 1350s. know that all you skater fanatics out there know exactly who used to own this boat. Of course, it was Chris Bradley for the first couple of years. Then it went from Texas to an owner in Louisiana, and then back to John Azerly, now third owner, who of course is from Texas. And one of two 50-foot skaters here on today's run, Joe and Nicole Gilstor from Michigan, Team 50 Shades, and maybe hard to see it from up here in the chopper, but in the last episode I noticed how nicely their team uniforms matched the boat. And if there was an MTI that could be equated to the Energizer Bunny, I would say that Craig and Paula Ackerman would get that accolade, because their 34 MTI is the Energizer Bunny. It has been on every poker run that it could possibly attend since they took delivery in the Emerald Coast Poker Run in August. Then they made it here for the Key West Poker Run, and they got 2020 kicked off with the Winter Poker Run to Marathon, which they did with their kids and actually won that poker run, and then backed it up by joining us for the Miami Boat Show Poker Run in February. Not a bad track record for a couple that come from the Lake Lanier area in Georgia. And we're getting closer now to the south end of Biscayne Bay as we just take a second in the chopper now to kind of hover and sit and turn as we follow these boats as they continue to head south. It's something that we don't do very often, but if you do get a good position where you can hover for a few minutes, it's nice to just kind of sit here and watch all the boats go by one. Here we are now at the landmark Card Sound Bridge. That's Card Sound on the left and Barnes Sound on the right. So whether any of you realize it or not, you have just departed from Biscayne National Park. Now we're just in the open waters of Barnes Sound heading towards Key Largo as we catch up with Howard and Amy Bindit. I'm not going to say much here other than what an incredible restoration they did on Tatanka, because I want you to hear these roaring engines. And it looks like our photo and video crew up in the chopper are going to do a little more hovering now as we catch some flybys. Let's say hi to Dr. Eno Halegua. He's done this event many years here in his 38-foot cigarette. Now we're catching up with Bo and Bilge Gregory. They came a long way to attend, all the way from Arizona with their 34 MTI. And of course we slowed down the video just so we could see the teams a little better. This is Trent Toon from Lighthouse Point in his 37-foot Intrepid, first time here on the Key West run. And Steve and Lisa Young, who are enjoying their new 38-foot Statement, got all their friends on board, and that is one big happy family. And one more time with John and Tracy Wittenberger from New Jersey and their 36-foot Sonic on the rocks. And helping to keep those cigarette numbers strong is Curtis Mulch and his 35-foot Top Gun Team Gunslinger. Looks like we've got some cigarettes running together as we catch up with Team War Party. It's the Bubba and Brittany show. And here's Jim Schultz and Team Factory Billet, that brand new 42 cigarette Huntress. And it looks like we're closing in now on Jason and Krisha Tolliver from Ohio and their brand new Sensation 40 CCX. And it just so happens, guys, if you're the last boat in the fleet coming over to Gilbert's on Barnes Sound, chances are the helicopters are going to pick you up and follow you in. So just a little footnote if you want to get some good video footage in the future. This is a new model from the Sensation family. Actually, the 40 came out a year earlier. The first one debuted at the Key West Poker Run. It was red and white, but this one is the latest with triple Mercury Racing 450Rs. I think it's a perfect choice of power for this Sensation center console. And I don't know if Jason wants me to say this, but what the heck, I will. Jason is a very, very loyal Sensation customer. He's owned a few of them, and he actually decides to hang on to them for a while. I don't know how many he has right now, but he certainly has 3 or 4, I'm guessing. But he's got a 34 that's very similar looking to this that he brought on the Bahamas Poker Run back in June of 2019. But if you take a close look at this boat, you'll see that massive center console. Down below, that is a giant cabin down there. You can't really see it in these images, but I can assure you it's one of the biggest cabins for a boat in this class, and I think it's a very well designed and laid out boat. And I love this shot from the helicopter using a GoPro on a long stick, which gives us these wide scenic aerials that you can't really get with a normal video camera. So I think this was kind of a creative twist that Joe threw into the mix, and I like seeing that. And you know, these guys up in the helicopter are really stretching all of their talents to make sure that these productions come out just fantastic time after time. So as we arrive here at Gilberts in Key Largo, now we're going to spend a little time flying the drone. And not everybody gets a chance to see this beautiful beach they have, because very rarely do people walk way over to that corner of the property, because it is such a big property. It's about 5 acres. The dock alone is, I think, 650 or 700 feet long. So they've done everything they could to make this dock, you know, perfectly situated for poker runs. You can see all those brand new finger piers that they just installed. The entire surface and all the pilings are brand new. And it took them a while to do this. You know, they worked on it 2 years ago during Irma, and they actually had to close the place up for a while. We couldn't bring our boats here, but now that they've got everything all fixed, you can see that, you know, the dock is capable of holding a lot of boats. It's a little light right now. Not everybody's here yet, but you know, today if we manage to get 50 boats here, or 40 something maybe, because remember, a lot of the boats are still going to continue on and go to Ferro Blanco for lunch. And we mixed it up. We had 2 locations, and I think that works out well, because it gives a lot of people a choice to go to either spot. And of course, you can get lunch at either spot, and you can get fuel at both spots. Here's a great shot of those new finger piers where you can get the big guys. And this is what I'm going to recommend to you guys whenever you're on one of our poker run events. This is where we need to put the big boats. If you're 45 to 48 up to 60 foot in length, this is where you need to tie up. And here's a nice shot of Team Seakeeper, one of our sponsors, who's also taking the spot as a safety team today, helping out with their safety management program. They've got Miami-Dade Fire Rescue on board. And of course, our friends from Florida Fish and Wildlife are here to help too with the safety management program. Well, I was lucky enough to find a nice opening at the fuel dock, and with some help from my crew, Ted Hosmer, we're able to get the Project 1080 up to the gas dock and squirt a little bit of fuel in so we could make the ride down to Marathon. And the jury is not out yet of whether I'm going to try to make it to Key West, because I've got to go back to Miami tonight to manage the safety meeting and get ready for the Thursday run. But obviously, Gilbert's is a very welcoming place, and on a beautiful day in November, I think a lot of these people who just got in off of planes from faraway places, colder places, some places with snow, and they're really excited to be here and get underneath that tiki bar and have a nice lunch. And this is really what gets the whole vibe started. I think when you arrive at Gilbert's and get underneath this tiki bar, it kind of winds you down but picks you up at the same time. But certainly it gets you in the mood for Key West.
2019 Key West Poker Run for the Florida Powerboat.
Oh, it's nice to have cheerleaders in the club. We have so many of them, but those 2 are among my favorites. Thanks, Don. Thanks, Lynn. But the food here, oh my God. I don't think that there's a better place for having lunch. I mean, they do such a great job. And, you know, I got to thank Mitch and Murray. Somehow they just magically pull it together every time. And there's no limit on the number of people that they'll handle. You know, they've always said to me, you know, well, Stu, don't worry. We can take the whole lunch, the whole poker run here. And I'm like, well, dude, that's going to be like 350 people, you know, for just one day alone. Oh, no, we got that. It's like, okay, well, you know, what if I give you 200 and I send 150 to Ferro Blanco? So at the end of the day, guys, we just want to keep all you guys happy out there. So I don't know if you guys remember or if you noticed, but we're actually giving people a choice on where they want to go for lunch. If we have 2 locations. For the Thursday run, you know, we have about 900 people to feed. So we have, I think, 5 locations. And it's no problem for us to give people a choice. Obviously, we have some manufacturers involved where we're putting like all the Nortex at one location on Thursday and all the cigarettes at another location, and that helps us out a lot. But at the end of the day, we just want you guys to have a good time and enjoy your ride down through the Florida Keys. But, you know, as an organizer of these events now for 27 years, I can say that we've been coming to Gilbert's for at least 22 or 23 of those years. And we've been through a lot of different owners and a lot of changes in the property, but I can truly say that it just never gets old for me I love coming here. It gets me in a really festive mood, and it has become what I consider to be an iconic property here in the Florida Keys, a landmark destination. Whether you come by motorcycle, by car, or by boat, it's a must-see, must-do, must-experience place that everyone really needs to get by. Of course, if you've been here dozens of times, it's not a big deal if you skip the lunch stop here and go down to Marathon. But again, we just want you guys to pick the best spot that suits you and your crew so that you can make the very best of that bucket list poker run that you've been planning for years. And it's a great time to switch over to the drone camera now because all of our teams are getting ready to leave, and this is the best way to get that cockpit close-up and really say hi to all the teams that came a long way to be here, like Scott Witt and his crew. And it looks like they stopped to get their life jackets on. So thumbs up to this crew who are paying close attention to the safety management program and looking out for the safety of their team. So putting on those lifeline jackets, that's the way to do it, guys. Now from this angle, looking out onto Blackwater Sound, you can see that the conditions are absolutely fantastic today. I believe that the winds have died down even further. And of course now we are on the protected waters for, the entire trip, or at least most of it, down to Marathon and beyond to about Bahia Honda. So that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So if you're in the center console like Team Naughty Habit here, that means the girls can probably go sit up on the Babe Lounge, I call it, or the Sun Lounge up front, and get a little sun and just enjoy the ride because it's so calm. And as long as Steve keeps the throttles at about 50 or 55 miles an hour, they're going to have a fantastic ride. Now on the other side of that equation, you're in a fast cat like Randy Kent here in his new 37 Pellini Marine from Midwest Boating Center, Twin Mercury Racing 400Rs. He's going to want to giddy up, and you're going to have the best conditions to do that now because it's going to be calm and you're going to be able to run 100 all day long. And one more time now here with John Wittenberger Sr. This is the only Sonic on the run. I mentioned a couple episodes ago, it was kind of ironic that we started this Key West poker run back in 1993, and it was an owner's event that Sonic Powerboats hired the Florida Powerboat Club to run their owner's rendezvous, and it was a exclusively Sonic event, about 25 boats. We went down to Marathon, and we did a day trip down to Key West during the races. Well, turned the page to 1994, and Sonic didn't want to do the event again, so I opened it up to other boats, and it became the Key West Poker Run. And so from that point on, I just called it the second annual Key West Poker Run. Here we are 27 years later. And another very unique boat, the only one here on the run. It's a 32-foot Belzona, Don and Don Haddon from South Carolina. Their second event with the club. They joined us earlier this year for the Bahamas event. And did I mention Gilbert's has rooms? And as we continue to monitor the exodus here now from Gilbert's, looks like we're closing in on Evan Bangs and his 35-foot Donzi ZR. Here's a crew that came a long way to attend, all the way from Austin, Texas. And I looked at today's roster. It appears to be about 6 or 7 teams from Texas attending today's run, but overall, at least maybe twice that many or more on the Thursday run. So close to 20 or more teams come from Texas. And hey, guys, that's a long ways to come, so that's what I call dedication. But smart move, getting their life jackets on, getting greased up with the sunscreen. Gonna need that, guys, because you got about 110 miles to go, and you're gonna have one hell of a farmer's tan with your bright red arms and a perfect outline of your lifeline jacket. And the shot here as everybody heads to the boat. Say hi to Heidi. And there's our good buddy, the late Mike Pierce in the white t-shirt. Gonna miss you, buddy. All these years boating with the club, so many years boating with the club, and God, you made so many friends along the way. Sad to see you go. I just had an idea as I watched this footage and see Michael Pierce, and I think, from our last episode, number 2, I made a reference to and made a little dedication to Michael and his crew. And, of course, we lost Michael on December the 6th, which was, less than a month after the poker run. So I want to go ahead and dedicate the rest of these Key West Poker Run episodes to Michael Pierce Jr. from Louisiana, who we will miss dearly. And it looks like the boats are making their way now into Blackwater Sound as these two Texas teams team up for the ride. This is Evan Bangs, of course, we just saw from Austin, Texas into Donzie. And in the background, that's Roger and Pam Anderson from the DFW area, Colleyville, Texas, in their 39 Nortec. And here's Matt Borsina pulling off the dock. Looks like his crew members decided not to get a room. And one more time now with Josh and Terry Ann Pierce from Kansas. No relation to the late Michael Pierce. Got a big crew on board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 7 on board. 8 maybe getting their life jackets on. Good job, guys. Big thumbs up. And we're back here dockside as teams continue to pull away. Jason and Tricia and their crew prepping on the Sensation here. So I think these are the two critical things right now, guys. Getting the sunscreen on and getting the life jackets on. And just a little drone action now as we cross over Chris Colson and Team HTO, his Sensation. And I know you guys probably didn't see it, but his little girl was sitting in the back seat. Cute little thing. I don't think she's more than 3 years old. I think we need to have an award for the youngest crew member. And for Greg Roth, we need to have at least a special mention of the fact that he's the first guy that ever strapped a fuzzy little dog, puppy, stuffed animal on the bow of his Hustler for the poker run. And by the way, that dog has been there since he left the marina in Miami. So somewhere under all that fuzz, there's a couple of zip ties holding that little puppy to the bow rail. And I'm glad we got a few shots of our FWC partners who are a part of the safety management program. And understand we have several boats involved in this effort. They start all the way up in Miami and follow us down to Key Largo. Then there's a changing of the guard, so to speak, where the Florida Keys-based FWC boats now pick up the pace and are going to run with us all the way to Marathon. And there's still another boat in Marathon that's going to follow us further south to Key West. And now it's time for the drone to pick up our Sensation CCX, Jason and Krisha Tolliver. Remember now, we got them from the helicopter earlier in the show. Then we got them from our dockside camera. And now we're getting them with our drone camera. And there's something about our videographers that like going to this boat. And I don't think it's the color and the blue graphics. I think there's a couple of ladies on here in bikinis that are getting all the attention. And if that's the case, guys, can't you get a little bit closer, please? And it's time to get Project 1080 fired up as we make the next leg. Going to continue to have Ted Hosmer and his lady Mika with me on the 38 Cigarette. Nice to have crew on board, and I'm glad that I'm helping out a club member who had boat issues in the final days of preparation for the poker run. And I'm really glad that we've been able to really put the Project 1080 to work for that purpose and for also the purpose of fundraising. So I think since I started running the boat back in January earlier this year, 2019, we've used it for charity events. People donated to the charity and therefore got a ride on the boat or came on a poker run with me. And we've had a lot of breakdowns or last minute issues where boats weren't ready and I was able to take the crew with me on the Cigarette. And that's worked out great. So it really has been a good program for us in more ways than one. Not only getting a really cool old school 20-year-old Cigarette restored and getting brand new Mercury Racing power to make it a reliable poker run support boat, but also to be able to give people a poker run experience that might have otherwise had to stay back at the dock. So I'm glad Ted and Mika are riding with me today, and it's happened on many, many other events. Many of you watching right now saying, yeah, we were one of those crews, and our boat wasn't ready or it broke, and you ended up having a ride with me on my boat, and it was a win-win for everybody. And just a few stragglers here at the dock at Gilbert still, as most of the pack has departed. I'm counting, probably a dozen or so boats still at the dock here. And why not? Who's in a big rush? We've got 110 miles to go. Plenty of daylight left as we join Bill Pyburn Jr. and his crew, which grew in numbers by 2 at the last minute when Nate Michelle's MTI Cat had a little incident on I-10 just a few days before the run. But here's some really cool shots of his new 42 MTI Quad Mercury Racing 450Rs. A lot of unique features. I got a chance to ride on this boat for the MTI Fun Run, and it is one beautiful MTI. Well, guys, if there was going to be a money shot that would sell the Florida boating lifestyle and punctuate the benefits of owning a center console, this War Party shot just might be the clip. Team War Party, fun bunch all the time. Brittany and her girlfriends with all their matching War Party bikinis, and Bubba and all the guys have got their War Party shirts on. And everything matches, but everyone has really got a good spirit going. Lots of room to move around on this cigarette center console. Everyone's got a place to sit. Easy access to the cooler for cold drinks, non-alcoholic drinks, of course, water and sodas. But all I can say is, they've got 110 miles ahead of them, and this is the way that they're going to enjoy it. And Mike's going, yeah, I could enjoy this for a lot more than 110 miles. So we do have to give Brittany a new award, and it's all about being the best social director to keep her crew members entertained. And a shot of now Dr. Eno and his crew from Miami in their 38-foot cigarette, celebrating about, I think, 9 years, according to our records. He started doing this event in 2011 and has done it now for 9 consecutive years. Didn't even take 1 year off, didn't skip a beat. So, and always all 9 years with the same cigarette top gun. So he's really getting his use out of this cigarette, and makes this his one pilgrimage every year, every November, to come down to Key West with the club. And it's time to check in with Team MTI, and we have a nice assortment of MTI owners getting together for this little sort of unscheduled impromptu shoot, which turned out pretty good. They got together all in one frame and kept the speed down so they could get a formation going. That's Mark Schouten off in the distance in the red 42. There's a closer look of his boat. Got Quad Mercury Racing 450Rs. The orange and white boat in the distance, that's Sean Moe, and I'm pretty sure that was Greg McCauley running down the center. And this is an appropriate transition over to Bo and Bilge Gregory from Arizona in their brand new MTI Cat, Mercury Racing 450Rs. And I know that we're going to see a lot more of these 34 and, of course, the new 39 Cat on our 2020 Poker Run events. I think this little video segment turned out great, and I do advise other manufacturing sponsors that when you can get all your owners together, we are more than happy as organizers to bring our helicopter onto the scene and get a great segment like this. And a very special welcome to Randy's daughter Taylor Sissom, who's taking on more responsibility with running the MTI organization, including the MTI Fun Run, which went to the Florida Keys in March. So a very special thank you to everybody at MTI for your participation as a feature sponsor on the Key West Poker Run. One last mention, this boat here, not a registered boat. He just bought the boat from Johnny O, so we're not even sure who's in it, but we do suggest that if you want to join us for these upcoming events, please call the club office or go online. We'd love to have you join the club. Now flying at a very fast pace as we get into some of the open water and catching up to Don Doty from Michigan in his 42-foot skater, Mercury Racing 1350. He's throwing a nice rooster tail and on cruise control right at about 95 miles per hour. And just a few high-speed flybys. That's David and Leanne Branton in their 48 MTI Team Hotshot. And along comes son James Branton in his 38 skater, Team Voodoo. And it's not hard to spot Fred and Judy Revis. That's because they're in that big red 48 MTI. And we're going to get in the helicopter and try to chase them down. They're cruising about 90 miles an hour right now, which is going to make them hard to catch. But it looks like Fred backed the throttle down just enough for the helicopter to close the gap and get some good time here now as they follow along on this beautiful section of Florida Keys between Isla Morada and Marathon. And this is an area where the boats have a lot of room to just open it up and get into that nice color water, a perfect location to get some great photos. So I don't think it gets much better than this, guys. This is the money shot for today, and that means it's time to close off episode number 3 here with our continued coverage of the Key West Poker Run 2019 featuring members of the Florida Powerboat Club. We're going to take a break, and when we come back with episode 4, we're going to continue the coverage of our Wednesday group heading from Miami all the way to Key West and stopping at the landmark Ferro Blanco in Marathon for another shot of fuel before we head offshore. And with any luck, we'll pick up some of the Thursday group, which numbered over 150 teams doing the entire course from Miami to Key West. It's all right here on our YouTube channel with Florida Powerboat Club. Please share these episodes with all your boating friends and ask everybody to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click that notification bell so you'll get all of the updates every time a new episode is released. You can follow the Florida Powerboat Club a number of ways. You can check us out online at flpowerboat.com, and my wife Jackie Jones invites you to visit our Facebook page, Florida Powerboat Club, which she is very proud of, and we maintain our content there on a regular basis. You can also check us out on Instagram and follow us on Twitter. We're holding the fort down here at the FPC Studios in Pompano Beach as we meet the challenges of this coronavirus pandemic. We urge you all to follow the protocols of your federal, state, and local government leaders. And remember, guys, we're going to get through this together, but let's be patient. Let's get through it. Let's make sure it's safe before we get back out there enjoying poker runs with our fellow boaters from around the country. This is Stu Jones. Thanks for watching. We hope to see you guys again real soon. Hang in there. Remember, if you do get a chance to go boating, be sure to respect your fellow boaters, and remember to always wear your life jackets when the time is right. Bye for now. These YouTube episodes are brought to you by Mercury Racing Wide Open and by offleaseonly.com, the nation's used car destination. In addition to our 2020 series sponsors pictured here, we'd like to recognize all of these Key West 2019 feature sponsors as seen here on our official event masthead. This is the artwork for our official souvenir t-shirts, posters, and banners. These sponsoring partners play a vital role, and it's through their support that Florida Powerboat Club can produce this signature Key West Poker Run event.